It's NFL Survivor, week number 12. We're picking winners of the Cheezeman, but we picked our loser last week. I mean, we're out of Survivor. I'm out of my big pool in Survivor. Earliest I've been out in 6 years. I think I looked it up. Unbelievable. I took the Washington Commandos. You can see here, nice week to pick a team that has, count them, not 3, not 4, not 6 turnovers. I mean, oh my God. Everybody in that whole team should be fired after that debacle against a team who can't score any points. You have 6 turnovers. Unbelievable. Anyways, you can see there in the big pool with Washington, I'm out. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to pick through. We're going to pretend, if you remember last week, I was debating Jacksonville, and I said Jacksonville's the easy play, but I got to take a risk here at some point, and I took Washington. So I'm going to pretend that I took Jacksonville and play it on out just so everybody can kind of see what I would do. In the meantime, here's our top 5 plays from last week, which did not do that well either. 2 and 3 on the big ones. We did go 5-0 in the bonus area, so that's pretty good, but you can see 2 and 3. Here's what's interesting. I went back and looked last year, right? This exact same week last year, week 11, I did a debate on the Survivor videos that I do, talking, should I take this good team or should I take Washington, right? And last year, I gave you all my justifications. I chose Washington, and they won. They won easily. I think they won like 27-7 over somebody. And now this year, it was the same thing. I was debating, do I take Jacksonville, the logical, the easy play, or do I go for Washington? I went for Washington this year. Loser. So it just shows how every year is different. Every year is different. Last year at this time, you can see there, we had 32 people left at week 12 only. It was really a strange year last year where all the favorites were getting upset early in the season. This year, here you can see in the big pool, 1,791 entries. We've got 78 remaining. 50 get eliminated last week. That's 39% of the pool. Actually, it's 49 got eliminated. But you can see the top win choices there were Jacksonville and Detroit, Frisco. And the big loss choice, Washington. A lot of people went down with me. Here's what's interesting. I'm in another pool where I used Washington in week 1, right? Logical play to have Washington week 1 against Arizona and a backup quarterback. And Washington easily won that game. And so in my other pool, I couldn't use Washington last week, and I used Jacksonville and moved right along, right? Another one I used Miami, I think. So still in a few, but out of the big one, and that really stinks. All right, let's get into our metrics really quick here. You can see for straight up metrics, the home teams and favorites had monster weeks last week, going 11-3. Home favorites did really well. Thursday night favorite won, back up to 8-3 there. Survivor top 5 choices went 4-1. Against the spread, home teams and favorites are just getting it done this year. Oh, look at all that blue. Over under, you can see the under at another just rousing week going 10-4. The under is now 60%. And I got to tell you, I just think we have the worst quarterback play we've had in decades right now. So give it another year or two when hopefully they commit to some of these guys and they keep playing and getting better and better. But otherwise, we're just going to keep having unders because these quarterbacks are 6-point favorites went 6-1 last week, so that's pretty good. And again, spread, they're only 3-4. You can see we're right on pace with the 6-point favorites at 1.18 per week. So we've got 13 upsets to this point. We have another 9 to go if you think about it. Here's our schedule for week 12. Take a look. We've got an interesting week. I can tell you this about week 12. First of all, week 12 is normally the week out of all 18 weeks where we have the least amount of 6-point plus upsets. We've had historically over the last 17 years, this is the week where we have the least amount of upsets. So I guarantee here they come because we've got 5 favorites of 6 points or more. You can see up there starting on Thanksgiving. Thursday, we got all 3 teams. Detroit given 7.5, Dallas 12.5, San Francisco given 7. And then Friday, we have our first ever Black Friday game. Miami giving the Jets 9.5. So we get 4 of them out of the way in the first 4 games. Kansas City's giving Vegas 8.5. Oh, that may have changed. We have 8 home dogs this week, so that's something a little bit different. Here's our worst 5 teams right now. And you can see number 1, Carolina, they're 1-9. New England is 2, the Giants, then Washington, although the Giants beat Washington twice. I don't know how they're not ahead of them. And then Tennessee. And what's interesting this week is you've got Tennessee playing Carolina and the Giants playing New England. So 4 of our 5 worst teams are playing against each other. So it offers you 2 options here. Either A, just stay away completely because you don't want to mess with that iffiness. Or if you see something where you could take advantage, for example, Tennessee is at home. We know they average 27 a game at home. They're 3-0 at home. You might jump on Tennessee and go against Carolina this week. Could be an option to get it on playoff win. All right, here's our top 5 offense and defense. You can see nothing's really changed here. Miami is still only 8 yards off that all-time record by the Rams at 442. They're at 434. And on the defensive side, Cleveland continues to dominate. Dallas has now moved up into second place. We've got some Thanksgiving metrics for you. As we know, Detroit and Dallas always play on Thanksgiving. And then we have a Thursday night Thanksgiving game. That one has the most interesting trends. But you can see Detroit's 5-17 the last 22 Thanksgiving games. That kind of stinks. I mean, that's a turkey, right? That's a turkey. They're 0-6 straight up, 2-3-1 against the spread the last 6 games. So if you're playing the trends, you wouldn't go with them. But they get the Packers coming in. Detroit's on fire. I think Detroit just lamb-blasts them. We'll see here. Dallas, same numbers. Look at that. 11-11 the last 22. 2-4 straight up, 1-5 against the spread. 2 years ago, I took them on Thanksgiving. They should have killed Vegas, and they lost. And I was out. However, Dallas does have the all-time best record on Thanksgiving Day, and we expect Dallas to get silly this Turkey Day. But here's our Thanksgiving Thursday night game, okay? This one does have some interesting trends about it. Take a look here. First of all, we have San Francisco going to Seattle, giving 7. This year, Thursday night favorites are 8-3 straight up. But you can look, the Thanksgiving night game, the favorites are 13-3 straight up, 12-4 against the spread in the last 16. Those are pretty impressive numbers. And away favorites are 5-1 straight up, 5-1 against the spread. Thursday night blowouts tend to happen. We've had 11 of these games with scores, with wins by 10 or more points. 11 of the 16. Thursday night, Thanksgiving blowout night, right? And you can see the average score there, 27.5 to 12.5. The under is 12-4-1 in the past 17 seasons. So, I mean, you want to play Turkey Day trends Thursday night, you take the favorite, the Niners, and the under and run. Now, like I always say, data paints a great picture of the past, but it doesn't predict the future. But, you know what? I may throw a shekel down on that parlay. All right, here's our in-play options for Week 12. We got 5 of them with the playoff teams, starting off number 1 with Dallas. Now, some of you are going to go, dude, you're just doing it because Washington, you hate Washington right now. And I do. No, actually, Washington couldn't play worse than last week. You have 6 turnovers. You can't play worse than that. So I do expect them to play much better against Dallas. The issue is Dallas is a great home team the last 2 years. They don't lose at home, basically. And you can see there, they average 40 points a game at home this year. 40. That's a lot of points. Washington is the number 32 defense in scoring, giving up over 27 a game. Dallas is number 5 in turnover margin. Washington's last. Dallas is number 7 in sacks. Washington gives them up more than any team except the Giants. In my best plays, I'm going to take the Dallas team total over. Now, what I'm doing there, you can see there at 31.5, is I'm actually teasing it up higher. I think the number is actually like 28.5 at -110. But I'm teasing up higher because I think Dallas is going to score a boatload of points on them. And I get plus money there. I get plus 124. And what I might do, quite honestly, is go all the way up to 34.5 where I can basically get plus 190 money. That's huge. You know what I mean? That's so if you, to give you an example, you throw 100 down, you're getting, and you win, you get your 100 back, plus you get 190. Okay, you're making a lot more money than on a standard play, all right? The other thing to look at here is Washington basically averages a fumble per week, and you can get a plus 125 for Washington to lose a fumble this game. I might take it, you know? Now, some of those are gimmicky bets that are luck, but when the trends are there, sometimes I like to go ahead and take a shot. San Francisco against Seattle is number 2. San Francisco, the Thanksgiving night favorite, where we just talked about those trends, doing fantastic. Basically, they're 7-0 with Deebo Samuel, 0-3 without him, 33 points a game with him, 17 without him. San Francisco beaten Seattle 3 straight. They covered all 3. You can see those numbers there. When you add up the numbers, the score of those 3 games, San Francisco basically beat Seattle 30-14 on average, 1,260 to 800 yards, no turnovers to 6. Purdy played in 2 of them, threw for 550 and 5 TDs, no picks. San Francisco's had Seattle's number, plain and simple. So I do like San Francisco in this game. I'm going to take a -7, and then I'm going to take the under. I'm going to play the trend and take the under. I feel like San Francisco's just going to whoop up on them, but Seattle's not awful. They've got good defensive backs, and so I think they can stick with them to a certain extent and keep this game under, like the trend suggests. If there's any spot I really like, I think George Kittle has a decent game here. I like him possibly to get his over or total receptions. I don't know what those numbers are yet, but take a look. Okay, number 3 here. Detroit home against Green Bay. It's all the Thanksgiving Day games, man. So Detroit has beaten Green Bay 4 straight times, including, remember, last year when Aaron Rodgers, all Green Bay had to do was win that game at home, last game of the season against Detroit. Detroit has nothing to play for, and Dan Campbell, he's got the culture of that team in just a great spot. They go in and whoop Green Bay, keep them out of the playoffs. I think Detroit, and they smacked Green Bay earlier this year in Green Bay. I think Detroit smacks them again, quite honestly. Green Bay is number 28 rush defense. David Montgomery, I like his over 66.5. I know most of y'all want to see Jahmyr Gibbs in there. He's more spectacular. He's exciting. But Montgomery's a big guy who just shreds. And I think he'll have his way with Green Bay this week, even getting Gibbs plenty of carries. So I like the Montgomery over. That's my favorite play in this game. All right, 4th one, Miami. So it's a 3 Thanksgiving Day games and then the Black Friday game with Miami. So I have a feeling a lot of folks, if they have those 4 teams available in Survivor, will use them. And Survivor may be over before we even get to Sunday this week. Anyways, Miami, you can see there. The hard part here is the Jets go on the new quarterback, Tim Boyle. Nobody's ever heard of the guy. He's been in the league for 4 or 5 years, barely played, right? So he can't be that good. Maybe he pulls out a cape and does something, but I doubt it. My guess is he doesn't really do any better than Zach Wilson at this point. And Miami's defense is actually respectable. They're pretty good. Look at that. The Jets' defense is 11. Miami's is 12. So I don't expect the Jets to score a whole lot here. And the Jets' defense is good enough to hold Miami at least down. I like the under in this game. I think that's your best bet. Vegas, Kansas City's game number 5. Now, this game is in Vegas. Kansas City's beaten Vegas 10 of the last 11, 15 of the last 17. Like, it's almost the same kind of destruction they have over Denver. But, of course, we saw Denver beat the Chiefs once this year. So I'm not throwing it out because the Chiefs' offense clearly is not as good as it was last year. It's nowhere near as good, right? And Vegas does have a decent defense. It's respectable. The problem they have, again, is the offense. You got a rookie quarterback who's not that good. Just being honest. They have only scored 20 points twice this year, and you're going against the Chiefs defense, which is actually really good. You can see they're a top 5 or 6 defense in the league, number 4. So I expect this to be a low-scoring game as well. You can see Kansas City has scored 30 or more points against Vegas in the last 7 games, and Mahomes has just gone nuts against them. But I think with the Vegas defense as improved as they are, I don't see it happen. Kansas City's only averaging 22 points a game this year. Overall, though, I think I like the under this game. I like Isaiah Pacheco's rushing yards over. You can see the Vegas defense is pretty good, but their rush defense stinks. You can exploit it all day long. I like Pacheco rushing. Here's our in-play options for non-playoff teams, and you can see right there, Tennessee, one of the 5 worst teams. We've talked about this all year, though. Tennessee's coming off a 3-game road trip. They're 3-0 at home, 0-6 away. Their other game was in Europe, where they lost to Baltimore, I believe. At home, they average 27 points a game. On the road, 12, right? At home, they're 3-0 against the spread as well. And Derrick Henry has had over 100 yards in 2 games and over 80 yards in the other game. Carolina's rush defense, you can see, is 24th there. It's not very good. I think it's a Derrick Henry game. I think he does go ahead and get another 80 yards and a touchdown or 2. And maybe Tennessee does get close to that 27. I think they're going to win this game. One thing I want you to see about Carolina, they've won 1 game. They've lost 2 games by 3 points. But every other game they played, they lost by more than 8 points. And I like Derrick Henry. I like Tennessee here. You can see I'll take Tennessee -3. I also like the Tennessee team total over 20.5 at plus money. And if you feel lucky, if you feel like they can get to 27 again, like they have in these home games, punch it up to 24.5 and you're getting plus 220 money. It's a very risky play, but it's kind of interesting. Number 7, Chicago at Minnesota. This on Monday Night Football. Josh Dobbs has been playing pretty well. Vikings almost pulled that game out last week against Denver. Denver came back, got that game-winning field goal at the end there, but the Vikings were right there. Could have won their 6th in a row. And as it is, they've won 5 of 6 games. They played very well in this recent set of games. Chicago is the number 1 over team in the league at 7-4 to the over. But Chicago, in their 6 road games, they're 1-5 straight up. They're 5-1 overs, right? Look at those scores of their road games: 44, 51, 60, 43, 41, 57. 5-1 over there. Both these teams are good against the run, which means we're probably going to see a lot of passing. Chicago's got that good rush defense, up to number 2 in the league now, but Minnesota doesn't run the ball at all. Minnesota's the number 1 team in terms of pass versus run percentage. They pass more than any team in the league, and I expect them to do it here too. That's why I really like T.J. Hawkinson's potential over, although I saw it at like 55. That's a little high. I still think he'll get there, but it makes your play a little bit shakier. And Jordan Addison, I think I saw his under 50. That might be the way to go. I like this game to go over. The Bears play overs. Minnesota, that's a good low number for the Vikes. And I think Minnesota whoops up on Chicago this game. I would take the Vikes minus 3.5 and watch them start another streak here. Here's your maybes. We got 3 of them. Baltimore at the Chargers. Now, I got to tell you, Baltimore's won 5 of 6. Only lost to Cleveland, who basically has the best defense in football. In there, they crushed Detroit, Seattle, and Cincinnati. You can see by 32, 34, and 14 points. Baltimore's number 1 defense against quarterbacks. Obviously, that's the Chargers' main strength, is at quarterback with Justin Herbert. But as long as Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler play, the Chargers can score points. And that's why I like this game to go over. And I like the Baltimore team total over 25.5. Baltimore has scored over 30 points in 5 straight games now. They've kind of got their offense clicking. I know Mark Andrews is out, but Isaiah Likely is a good backup, probably a good tight end backup as you have in the league. And I kind of like Isaiah Likely's over this game. I assume usually when you have backups all of a sudden take on a starting role, it's usually pretty reasonable. So that'd be a play I would look at. And then Keelan Mitchell, this kid looks outstanding. His speed is amazing. Get him some plays out in space where he can use that quickness. I kind of like his rushing receiving over. I want to see what it is. I think this may be his breakout game. I would probably take the Chargers here plus the 4 because the Chargers, they've beaten Chicago, the Jets, Minnesota, Las Vegas, but their other games have been pretty close. Lost to Miami by 2, Dallas by 3, Detroit by 3. Only Kansas City really whooped them. So I think those 4 points are kind of nice to have. I would probably take the points and take the overplays here. Buffalo, Philly. Philly comes off a monster win, right? Beating their biggest rival in the NFL, the team they look at as the team they got to get by to win a Super Bowl. They're 9-1, best record in football. This could be set up for a massive letdown for Philly. Coming back home, Thanksgiving weekend, you're with your family, you're eating turkey. In the meantime, Buffalo is kind of jacked up right now, right? They've been terrible. They had a good game last week, beating the Jets 32-6 or whatever. But Buffalo needs this win. They need the win. Philly really doesn't. Philly can put it on cruise control, and I worry about a letdown game. Normally, I'd say Philadelphia whoops up on them, but I don't know. For some reason, I think Buffalo's got a shot here. And what you've got is Buffalo's number 7 pass offense against Philly's number 28 pass defense. The only thing I will say is Philly held Mahomes to 177 yards last week, but Mahomes he's got Kelsey, but he doesn't have any receivers who are that good, right? In Buffalo, you got Kincaid who's showing he could play tight end, and Diggs obviously is one of the top 5 receivers in the NFL. I like the Stephon Diggs over in this game. Philly, to number 1 receivers, has given up 5 100-yard games this year, so I would take the Diggs over. For the game, though, I like the under. 48.5 to me is a big number. But I like the DeAndre Swift over rushing yards. That guy's been outstanding this year, and I think his number is typically reasonable compared to the top backs in the league. All right, Cleveland and Denver. This should be a great game. It's going to be a defensive game. Denver's on a 4-game winning streak, beating Green Bay, Kansas City, Buffalo, Minnesota. Those are 4 good football teams. Denver, in its first 5 games, gave up 36 points a game. Of course, the Miami 70 is ridiculous. But the last 5, they've only given up 17 points a game. So those red numbers on the Denver line there on defense are a little misleading, if you will. So I expect this game to be a low-scoring game. In fact, the OU is like 35 or something, 34. It's ridiculously low, almost too scary low to take that under. So the thing about Cleveland is they have that top 5 offensive line, top 5 defensive line. You're playing without your starting quarterback in Watson, without Chubb, your best running back, and you're still winning. You're 7-3. That is impressive. And it just goes to show these things aren't in a box score. But having those lines like that you can dominate in the NFL. And right now, it's kind of what they're doing. But I do like Cleveland getting the 2.5. I just think Cleveland's probably going to win this game. That's just me. Of course, you guys all know I've been biased towards Cleveland. I'm a Bronco fan, but I just think Cleveland's a better team than people give credit for. Here's your risky games. We've got 6 of them. I wouldn't touch these for Survivor, not one of them. We start with New Orleans and Atlanta. This is the battle for the NFC South lead. I think New Orleans thought at the beginning of the year they would dominate this division and roll it up and win it, but they've not been that good. And now you have Michael Thomas is out. Derek Carr's in concussion protocol. So you got to see if he's going to play. If he's not, that makes you like Atlanta a little more. Atlanta's going back to Desmond Ridder here. So that's kind of interesting. New Orleans beaten Atlanta in 6 of the last 7. These are 2 of the worst 3 teams covering the spread. They both typically play unders. You talk about the number 7 defense against number 8 defense. I think your best play here, most likely, is that under 42.5, particularly if Carr doesn't play. But even if he does play, I'm leaning under in this game for sure. Jacksonville at Houston, this might be the best game of the weekend, certainly for DFS purposes, the Millionaire Maker. You got a high total, 48.5. 2 quarterbacks who are kind of lighting it up. 2 teams who are lighting it up. I mean, they're both won like 5 out of 6 games or 4 out of 5, something like that. Stroud's been phenomenal. His receivers have been doing it. Jacksonville has one of the worst pass defenses in the league. They have a very good rush defense. So you expect them to kind of hold Houston in check there, and Stroud's going to throw for 400 yards, right? On the other side, Lawrence played fantastically last week, and I expect him to keep that going. ATN had way over 100 yards between his rushing and receiving the last time these 2 teams played. That was a Houston 37-17 win. It was an upset. By the way, Houston's beaten Jacksonville 10 of the last 11 times they played, even when Jacksonville's been like 7-8 point favorites. The over at 48.5 is a high number, but I still like it. I think these 2 teams get in a shootout. This could be the DFS bomb, one of those bombs, right, where everyone's loading up on these players, and then it goes to like a 20-17 game. Hopefully not. Hopefully we see the game we want to see, which is a nice game with lots of scoring. It'll be a lot of fun for DFS action. Houston gives up the 2nd most points to tight end, so I kind of like the Evan Ingram over. This is a game where I will check all the players and pick 1 or 2 of those guys, prop plays. I mean, they're going to have a high number on Stroud passing yards, but I have a feeling as long as Jacksonville keeps scoring, Stroud could end up with another one of those 400-yard games. Tampa and Indy, this is another one I like the over. Indy plays a lot of overs. Indy has scored more than 20 points every game this year except the last one, which was in Europe. Throw it out. On the other side, Tampa Bay has a great rush defense, top 5 or 8 or something like that. One of the worst pass defenses. So you'd think Indy will start off trying to establish Jonathan Taylor, but for the most part, my guess is they're going to end up throwing it all over the place. These teams play at a higher pace of play. Baker Mayfield will be chucking it all over. Indy, 6-4 in overs. They're 4-1 over in home games. Tampa Bay is 5-0 against the spread on the road. They've played all their road games pretty well. They're getting 2.5 points. So I kind of like the game to go over and take the Tampa with the 2.5 points. And right now I'm looking at either Michael Pittman or Josh Downs over in receiving yards. Those are probably my favorite plays in this game. Now, the other 3 games, Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. Since he's won 4 or 5 against Pittsburgh, not yet Jake Browning at quarterback. We have no idea what he's going to do. The OU in this game is 34.5. I mean, this is getting depressing. I like defense. I like good games. But when you're down in the 30s for your OUs, like 2 and 3 years ago, we didn't have a game below 40 all season long. And now we're down at 34.5. We have NFL teams that can't put up 35 points between them. Pittsburgh can't score, right? They're one of the 2 teams in the league that's given up more points than they've scored with a winning record. Seattle's the other one. I don't know if you can touch that OU at 34.5. If anything, I would just say contrarian and pick over and just pray to God somehow they get some freaking points this game. And the same here for the next one, New England and the Giants. And I'm not picking a winner here either. All these teams are less. New England and the Giants are the 2 lowest scoring teams in the NFL. You can see between them combined, they average 27 points a game. That is it. The OU's at 33. You're sitting there going, I got 6 points to play with here. You know? Their defenses are actually pretty good, and their offenses are just atrocious. At 33.5 is your OU total. Again, if anything, I mean, logically, you just play the under. But there's a part of you that's going, You know, at some point, can't these teams make this game like 20-17? Maybe it's a bunch of field goals. I don't know. And the Rams at Arizona. Rams have beaten Arizona 12-14. Now, this game should be a fun one, but Cooper Kupp might not play. That's what kills you here. Kyron Williams is back for the Rams. That's huge. They cut Darrell Henderson. Arizona's pass defense is actually better than people realize. So, who knows here? I don't really think I can touch anything in this game. All right, guys, here's what I would do in the primary poll. We're pretending now that I actually picked Jacksonville last week and won, so I can keep playing with y'all, so you can hopefully get something out of me. But this week, I would go ahead and take the Chiefs, primarily because I think this is a tougher game than the Chiefs think that people will think. Vegas will probably play them pretty tough here. However, Vegas hasn't scored over 20 points in any game this year except for 2 of them. The Chiefs' defense is really good and should just dominate. And you got Patrick Mahomes, easily one of the 3 greatest quarterbacks ever. So the Chiefs should score a few points at least. And Patrick Mahomes doesn't lose 2 in a row. So he's coming off a loss. That's why I really like Kansas City this week. All right, team records against the spread before we get in our big plays. Philly's number 1 now. You can see Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, Detroit, and Dallas are all pretty good. Carolina is the worst against spread. They are playing against Tennessee, who's one of the worst. New England's playing the Giants. Those 2 are among the worst. Atlanta's playing New Orleans. Those 2 are among the worst. Like, the only way these teams get wins is if they play each other. Anyways, in the over totals, you can see the under is almost 60% winner this year. You should be playing lots of unders. In the meantime, we have Chicago as the best over team at 7-4. Indy and Dallas, Detroit are all there. We only have 6 teams over 500 to the over now. 6. We have 22 teams over 500 to the under. Leading it off is Vegas because they can't score. Tampa, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Minnesota, Buffalo, the Giants. And you can see all on the right side there, all those ones that are 7-3. But let's get into the top 5 for this week. We're looking at, once again, I wish I could see more of the actual player numbers. I don't have them yet. I've been trying to find them, but anyways, my top play, I think this week, I like Baltimore team total over 25.5. The Ravens offense seems to have it clicking. They're going against the number 32 scoring defense in the league, 31st defense overall in the Chargers. They've scored 5 straight weeks in a row over 30 points. I like the Baltimore team total over 25.5. KC Vegas under, we just talked about it. I actually jumped on this at 44.5. It started off at 44.5. I try to go see the numbers right away, right when they come out, and then I picked 1 or 2 and jump on them. I thought that one was a good one to jump on, and I did, but I will still take them at 42.5. Chicago, Minnesota over 43.5. That's a beautiful number for the Vikings. The Vikings can play that over. It's when it's up at 47 and 48 that you get scared. And then you're going against the Chicago defense. It's not very good against the pass. Minnesota throws it a lot. Last time they played, Minnesota had 3 turnovers. If they cut that back to 1 turnover, they're going to score more points. Chicago plays overs. They're number 1 over team. I like this game over. San Francisco -7 at Seattle. We talked about this Thanksgiving night game. The favorites have just dominated. And the road favorites, 5-1 straight up, 5-1 against the spread. We're just going to play the trend. Let's go for 6-1 here. It's a little shaky. I mean, Seattle's decent, but we're going to take San Francisco. They're a machine. When San Francisco's healthy, when Trent Williams, when Deebo Samuel, when that team's healthy, that's the most dominant offense in the league right now. And then maybe Philadelphia. Miami and the Jets under. And the reason why is because the Jets can't score. They play unders. Yet they have a really good defense. It could probably keep Miami into a reasonable zone of 24, 27 points. I mean, we saw last week that Vegas held Miami to 21 only. So, I think the Jets can keep Miami in the 20s. The Jets probably don't score 12, and we get that total under 41.5. On the bonus side, I got a Thanksgiving special for you, all right? 3-team teaser. Normally, I don't like parlays unless I could tease them. So what we're doing here is we're teasing the numbers down on the favorites. Now, when you do a teaser, usually what you want to do is tease them down through a key number. Those are typically 10, 7, 3. So you can see with Dallas, we want to tease it down to 6.5. So now I'm only giving 6.5 points with, I'm getting Dallas, giving 6.5. With Detroit and San Francisco, I'm teasing it down to only give 2.5 points, right? I'm going to take that 3-team Thanksgiving parlay and I get it at plus 150 money. All 3 have to come in. But, it's a nice number to get. Houston, Jacksonville over. I like this game. I just think these are two offenses that are as good as anyone in football right now, certainly passing the ball, and both passing defenses are shaky. Cleveland getting the 2.5 at Denver. I'm the only guy in the world who thinks Cleveland's good. The Derrick Henry over 6.5 rushing yards. I would put this over in the top 5, but I just need to confirm that's the number. Tennessee team total over 20.5. Take that for sure. Would probably take them over 24.5 as well at that higher plus 220 number. David Montgomery over 6.5 rushing yards. Love it. Houston, Jacksonville players. I'll definitely take a look at Evan Ingram. I like Isaiah Likely and TJ Hawkinson for potential overs. Boy, I like a lot of tight ends this week. Crazy. Here's some other strange stuff I'm looking at. So for a trendy kind of crazy play, these are crazier plays, riskier. Let's put it that way. Dallas averages 40 points a game at home. So I would possibly go ahead and take the Dallas team total over 34.5. You get plus 190 money there. And they've averaged 35 points against Washington at home in the last 5 games they've played them. And I would take Washington to fumble at plus 125. They've averaged a fumble a game this year. We talk about Thanksgiving Thursday night blowouts. 11-16 have been greater than 10 points, and unders are 12-4-1. So I would maybe parlay. You tease San Francisco up to 9.5. Now that gets it to you at plus 113, and you parlay it with the under, and you get plus 300 money there. I mean, plus 300 money, that's nice. If that comes in, you're raking it, okay? All right, another one I would probably do, Indy over at home is 4-1. Tampa Bay straight up is 5-0. So I'd maybe consider just running that parlay. Take Tampa Bay in the over, parlay it, and go get it. If you want, tease the Tampa Bay number up to plus 3.5. Get it through the 3 there. Maybe it's a field goal game. Player overs I'm looking at, I could talk about Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Isaiah Pacheco, Stephon Diggs, I love, DeAndre Swift. Take a look at those Jacksonville, Houston players. I like Travis Etienne's rushing and receiving yards over. He had a huge game the last time they played. I think he'll do the same this week. All right, guys. Here's what I'm doing in the primary poll. We will go with the Kansas City Chiefs. Thank you so much to CookieGroove.com, our sponsor. Check out their drumsticks, baseball bats, golf grips. Please like us and subscribe to our channel. This has been week number 12. Pick a winners with the Cheezeman. Good luck, and we hope you survive.